Welcome to my podcast, Today's Dream, Tomorrow's Reality. My name is Vickiepoole. I'm a master transformational coach and hypnotist specializing in habit change. And this podcast is sponsored by The Enlightened Peach. And it's all about embracing our mosaic life. Well, some of you may ask, what is a mosaic life anyway? Well, it is recognizing that all the pieces of our life, the good, the bad, the indifferent, have all come together to make us who we are. Change any one thing and we are completely different. With that in mind, I invite you to embrace your perceived imperfections and celebrate who you are. This podcast is unedited and raw, just like life. And I am your host, and I have a special guest in just a moment. I will introduce her. But before I do that, I would love to ask you to do me a solid, and that is to like, subscribe, share, and if you can, leave a question. I'm sure that Kaela would love to hear from you as well as I would. So with that said, now let's get started. All right. This is beautiful woman right here is Kaela Gedda.
You got it.
Yeah. And we don't really know each other well, but I do know her from, we both went to the Health Coach Institute. That's where we graduated from. And I'm sure she's done other things as well. So have I. And she has this amazing group on Facebook that I've participated in. And not too long ago, she had this thing, and you work with your mother. And so we'll explore that in just a minute too. But she did this little thing in her group, and it was called a podcast palooza. And I went in and shared my podcast and had some amazing people that reached out to me from that were actually on my podcast. So I'm externally grateful for being able to tap into the huge following that you have and share some of their stories. So I'm really looking forward to knowing more about you, because I know the surface stuff. I don't know the underneath stuff, and it's always so delicious to learn about, you know? So if you don't mind, just go ahead and tell everybody just a touch about you, so they'll be a little familiar, and then we'll just get started talking.
Okay, I love that, Vickie. So I'll tell you a couple things about who I am as a soul, as a spirit, and a couple things about who I am as a human. So if you just know the essence of me, like my real spirit, you would know that I'm a lighthouse. I'm radiant. I am love and play and curiosity. That's really who I am at my core. And then the human version of me, the roles that I play, I am an entrepreneur. I run Rise Leadership Circle with my mom. I'm a dog mom to 3 dogs. That is a lot of work. We have a puppy right now. It's a lot. I love horseback riding. I live between 2 different states. My husband and I travel back and forth to have 2 different experiences of life, which is really unique. I think at my season of life to go back and forth. And I am a reading fanatic. I've read, I think my count is 56 books so far this year, and we're in mid-August.
Oh, wow. Nice. I love that. I love that. I do a lot of reading too, but the thing that I do is I have like a whole bunch of books on my nightstand. I have some in the audio, so sometimes I'm reading multiple books at a time,
Mhm.
because when you're reading a lot of mindset and law of attraction and growing and learning and all of that, you can read multiple books, because it's not like a novel where you have to understand what this character is and what they're doing over here. And so it just opens up a big space to really dive into a lot of things. And what's funny about me sometimes is when I'm on a podcast or I'm listening or watching a class or anything, and somebody mentions a book, I immediately go to Amazon and look, where is this book? And I'll look at it and I'll order. And quite often I get the book in, go put it on my shelf, and I've already got the book. I just haven't read it yet. So I have multiple copies of things, and sometimes I will donate them and all this kind of stuff. But it's kind of funny that I do that as soon as someone tells me some book and it's like, oh, that sounds intriguing. Sounds familiar, but I want to see it.
I love that.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. I know you and your mom worked together, but before you ever went to HCI,
Mhm.
what did you do?
I'm trying to, okay, my last role before I became a coach, I was fundraising for a nonprofit.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. So did you
Yeah,
like doing that?
which is basically sales. So I
Yeah.
love sales. I mean, that's as an entrepreneur, sales is our bread and butter. And so I'm still doing that. I loved being connected to a mission and
Mm-hmm.
knowing that the work that I'm doing has a bigger mission. I did not love the red tape of corporate. I learned like, ooh, this is where I'm against the grain. I just learned that I red tape is not for me. The
Yeah,
corporate red
yeah.
tape does not work for me.
Yeah, yeah, I feel the same way. And luckily, I haven't had a corporate job in, oh God, I don't even remember the last time I had a corporate job. I've been an entrepreneur for a very long time. And before I became an entrepreneur on my own, I worked with my mother who had a hair salon, and I worked with her. My parents were both hairstylists. And so it was just entrepreneurs was what you did. You just opened your own place, right? So I've had always been around that, but it doesn't mean I still don't have some of those limiting beliefs that pop up every now and then. We do as entrepreneurs, you know. So it's sometimes I'll uncover something. Oh my gosh, I even forgot I used to hear that all the time, you know. And so it's really fun as we start exploring this inner works that we have going on in our mind.
Yeah, I love my mom owned a hair salon too.
I
So I love we
know.
have that.
I
Yeah,
know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how long have you and your mom been working together?
that's a great question. I believe this is year 7 that we've been
Okay.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what that looks like.
Ooh, that's a good question. Do you want to know about the dynamic of what it looks like? Is that
But
what you're
whatever you want to share.
sure? Yeah.
Because I
So,
know, I worked with my mom as at a hair salon, so I
uh,
know what those dynamics are like. But it's because the hair salon and the coaching to me, even though they have a little bit of a twinge of you do coaching when you're doing hair, it's just what happens, right? But to work with your daughter on this mindset coaching space feels like it would be different. I don't know if it is or not, but
well, and we did work together. I used to work for her at her hair salon.
okay.
We were both different people back then. We were like old versions of ourselves, and so that was definitely a different experience than what this is like now. Working with my mom is so sacred. I mean, it is truly a gift. I know that a lot of people say wish I could, and I know that my relationship would not support that, and so it really is a gift that we get to do it. And it is our biggest opportunity for growth because
Yeah.
our personalities are really opposite. And so we hold up a mirror for each other all the time and we do our own work all of the time. It is, yeah, it's sacred, it's a gift, and it takes intentional practice to really show up doing our work.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my adult daughter lives with me. We don't work together, but we live together. And, there's mirrors going on all the time in that space, I'm telling you. I have to catch myself. Why is
Absolutely.
this triggering me?
Absolutely. Which is a gift because we're willing to look at it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
So it's really special and it's fun. So fun.
yeah. So, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Ooh, well, okay. But I think like in the middle school times, I wanted to be either an interior designer or a meteorologist.
Ooh,
And I'm
very
like,
different.
I actually do interior design. Like I do literal interior design. I help people
Yeah,
design
yeah.
from the inside out.
I
So
love it.
and I quickly got over that once I learned you had to be really like you had to draw and be artistic. I was like, oh, I'm like a different kind of artistic. Now I can claim I'm an artist, but back then I would have said, I'm not a traditional classic artist. And a meteorologist, then I learned you had to actually do the science. You didn't just get to stand up there and present the weather that someone else fed to you. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't figure that science out. That's not for me. I went to school to become a broadcast journalist. So my
Okay.
whole time through college, I thought that's what I was going to do is be a broadcast journalist. And then I realized it wasn't as glamorous as it seemed to be. So I went into sales.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was the fact that it was not as glamorous, so it was more of a tedious kind of thing that you weren't anticipating?
Yeah, broadcast journalism.
Hmm.
I'm sitting on an exercise ball. Sorry that as I'm sticking, my legs are sticking in my skirt to my exercise ball. So thanks for letting me adjust here. So I don't know if any of your listeners are into astrology, and I like it just for the fun of it, you know. So I'm a Leo moon, Leo rising, and Leos, we're all about the spotlight, the sunshine. We're real great at being the center of attention. And so I was like, oh, broadcast journalism, this is fun. I get to do journalism, which I'm really interested in. I love researching stories, writing stories, and then I get to share and present it. And then I learned that it's like a real thankless job, a lot of long days, a lot of long hours,
Mm,
not a lot of sleep. And I'm a girl who needs her sleep. And so I was like, I'm not sure if that is for me,
yeah.
actually.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're sharing that there are several different things that you wanted to do and realized they weren't right because, and I'm sure you find this too, a lot of people live their lives doing a job that they absolutely hate because they feel like they need it for the money, or somebody's led them to believe that that's where their gifts lie. And, you know, the thing is that I think if we could, as young children, if we could just decide what we want to do and explore different things. I think when it comes to going to school, I think they should have like, this place where you feel like you want to do these things. You can explore this one for a month, or you can explore this one for a month. And you just do all of that so you get the chance. Like when you want to do sports and you play this one season, then you play another one another season. Nobody says, well, you did baseball, so you got to stick with baseball, but they do that when it comes to education. And
Yeah. And
um,
I didn't even know what being a coach, I didn't know it was a job or what it meant until I had already graduated from college. So I'm
mhm,
grateful that
yeah,
it found me.
yeah. So who started the coaching first, you or your mom?
My mom did. So when she owned her salon, having a staff of 30, she really was all of their life coaches. They come in and she is there to support them so they can support the clients of the salon. And so as she saw that she really cared about her staff and her team, and she wanted them to live their best life. So she went to life coach training school, and I watched the transformation, one, what she was learning, and two, the
Hmm.
transformation that she had. And I said, that's interesting. I'm really curious about that. I want that for me. And so by this point, then I had taken a job, was working in corporate America and feeling really unfulfilled and really unhappy. And there it kind of came again. And I said, I was so interested in that. Why don't I revisit that again?
Yeah, I love that. And so anybody that's listening or watching, whatever you're doing now, if it doesn't serve you and it doesn't feel like it's what your soul's telling you to do, I'm not saying quit your job and all of a sudden start coaching. I'm saying explore a few other options to see what works for you and then start making progress toward that goal, because life is too short to spend it in misery. And there are so many people in this world that live for the weekend because they're not working, or when they get that next vacation. And the rest of it is the toil that they have to do to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm so glad that I just stayed open, because the season of life that I was in, I knew that I was unfulfilled. I knew I wanted something different, but I did not see how it could happen. I also was 6 figures in debt. And so I felt like I can't leave my job. And I was starting to really feel this like, well, maybe I'm just not cut out for anything different. Maybe it's just not going to get any better for me. I was not in an empowered state, but because I stayed open, that when the opportunity found me, I had just enough courage to take the step, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, yeah. So what did you do first?
On this journey, you mean?
Hmm.
So I'll tell you the story because it's fun.
Okay.
It
I
was
love a fun story.
Saturday night in January. I hadn't washed my hair in days. I'm just feeling like real down, real depressed. It's like cold. My boyfriend lives in another state. Now he's my husband, but my boyfriend at the time. And I'm just like, my life is so not what I wanted, not what I thought I was getting. Again, I have 6 figures of debt. I'm just feeling a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. And I'm laying in bed on a Saturday night, eating a chocolate bar, scrolling Facebook, just feeling the major comparison. Like, look at everyone else's life.
Yeah.
Here I am. And I came across a photo of a friend that lives in a town next to me and my cousin who lives across the country together. at a coach's graduation ceremony in Chicago. And I was like, I just leaned in, like, now what is going on here? What's happening? And they had tagged the company, and I was like, oh, I had looked into that company and was curious of maybe. And so this is the first step I took. I just went to the coach training school's website and I filled out an inquiry form to book a call. And I mustered up just enough courage. And that was the first step, is just take the first action to get the information.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny for me, how I really started this journey is, like I said, I felt like I coached my clients all the time in the salon, but that felt different because I don't know why it just did. But I'm one of those people that I have struggled with my weight my whole life. So I was a yo-yo dieter. I would get thinner, then I would get fatter than I was before, and then thinner. And it was just like horrible, right? And I was at my sister's house, and we had both been there earlier in the day and put the kids on the bus, and she's showing these pictures because it was the first day of school, and she shows me these pictures on her phone, and I said, "Who is that?" And she said, "What do you mean, who is that?" And I said, "Who is that in that picture?" She said, "Vickie, are you kidding?" I said, "No." She said, "That's you." I said, "That's me?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh my gosh." I said, "I can't believe that's me. I look horrible." She said, "Vickie, it's just the way that you're standing." I said, "If I can stand any way and look like that, there's a problem. So I got to do something different." And so I thought about it and I thought about it. And I said, "Okay, I've either got to make peace with being fat and just be okay with it, or I've got to figure out a way to make this yo-yo thing stop." And so I looked into coaches, I looked into health, I looked into all of these things. And as I was looking, I came across HCI, the BHC, and it was about habit change. And I thought, well, wait a minute, I think that's what I need. I need to change my habits. And so then I scheduled one of the calls to talk to them, and I was hooked. And I will say, when I first started, I didn't lose weight for a while, but man, oh man, the weight I was losing between my ears was amazing. And so that's why I went to several different steps through the, HCI to get better, take care of me. And I thought, even if the only person that ever gets helped is me, it's well worth the money spent. But man, oh man, have I been able to help others. And then I realized at one point that I was beginning to start sliding back to some of those old behaviors. And I saw it coming. And I thought, okay, there's one more thing I got to do. And I remembered doing hypnosis a long time before. And I thought, let me just explore a little bit of hypnosis. And so that was the game changer for me. So when I'm doing hypnosis with clients, I'm coaching them first, and then I do hypnosis at the end to bring it all together so that they have bigger changes. But it was, and it's like when people make a big change, it's usually because there's been a big problem. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that for me, it was like, okay, I'm the fat girl in every room, and I've either got to I like being the fat girl in every room, or I got to do something different. And I chose to do something different.
Wow. What a fun story. Thanks for sharing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I'm just a little bit curious because I know you have your group on Facebook. What's it called again?
Live your yes life.
Yes, yes, I love that. It's a beautiful title. And, I go in the group periodically and I see some of the stuff that you guys are doing. But do you want to just share a little bit about what the Live Your Less Yes Life group is about?
Absolutely. So, this is a space for people that have big dreams, big desires, or dreams and desires that maybe don't feel huge, but you know that they would make a big impact on you, on your quality of life. And you have circumstances. A lot of the people that we work with have things come up like book time and money and circumstance XYZ. Like life is lifing is what we say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we help people realize how you can really choose to have you can be a yes to the things that you most want in life without having to have the perfect storm of circumstances, that you can have it right now while life is exactly how it is, by really leaning into you and taking on the inner work that allows you to create what you want, however life is.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And so you have programs and stuff that you offer as well. Am I remembering that
We do,
correctly?
yes. So we have a membership community where we offer, it's a whole hybrid of group coaching, one-on-one coaching, just different things that we offer. We also have masterminds and a one-on-one, and we have a newly released book on Amazon, same name as our Facebook group,
Okay.
Live Your Best Life.
Oh, beautiful. I'm in the middle of writing a book right now too.
Hey,
Ah,
congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. I'm actually writing more than one. One is about my group and that kind of stuff. And then I'm actually getting together with one of my friends, and I have been doing a process with each other for like 2 years of and we're going to be writing a book together about the process we've done. It's about mindset and everything.
Amazing.
And so we're going to a cabin in Blue Ridge Mountains, actually in September. And we're going to be there for 3 days, and we're going to be writing this book. And so I'm super stoked and excited about that. But I'm also writing, and I say the term loosely as far as writing, because I've been asked to write a fictional book. And so as I've been working on the fictional book, I have like index cards, I have notes, I have one little chapter in my Word document. And that's one of the ones, for whatever reason, ideas come to me, I'm write them on this, but it's not translating onto the document yet. I don't know
Okay.
why. So I'm working through that to figure it out, but it's going to be really cool, because all the ideas that I have that I keep sharing with myself, I've just got to figure out how to get them onto the page.
I understand that. And I love that you're going to the mountains. When I wrote this book, it was real quick and dirty. I told myself I was going to write the whole book in 1 month. And it's not huge, it's not massive. I did it in 6 weeks. And so I
Oh,
love this,
wow.
like 3 days. Here we go. You know, the work that you've been doing. I think personally, that was a great experience for me. I'm glad I did it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And one of the funny things is that when we rented the cabin or booked the cabin, there's all these trails, and it said something about, it wasn't very far to go downtown and to get into the restaurants and all that stuff. And I said, I don't really think we're going to be doing the restaurant scene. I think we're going to just be holding out. And I'm hoping, September can be still pretty doggone warm, but I'm hoping that it'll be cooled off enough in the Blue Ridge Mountains that we can have a fire in the fireplace and a fire pit outside and just explore things right in that area. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So I'll keep you posted on when the book gets published.
I can't wait.
So what do you feel is the greatest gift that you can share with our audience right now?
Someone once asked me, if I came with a warning label, what would it be? And I feel like that's kind of, it's the way to answer this question. If I came with a warning label, it would be like, caution will make you believe in yourself. And that is a real gift that I have that I can share. And I would love to offer just a little something on that right now, because really the work that I'm here to do is to invite people to take a look at themselves and get that who you are, where you are right now in this moment is so worthy of believing yourself and trusting yourself. And I just want to invite you to think about that. You are not a mistake. Even if you feel like you've made mistakes in the past, that you are not a mistake and you are worth giving yourself your next yes, your next opportunity, the next moment of courage for you to step into what could happen next, because you're worth it.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. And I don't even know. Do you have siblings? Or are you an
I
only
do.
child?
Yeah, I have a younger brother and a younger stepsister.
Okay. So are they in the coaching industry as well?
Nope, my brother he's in marketing, he's an artist, a real artist. He did the painting behind me.
Oh, I
And my
like it.
sister's
I
in,
was
thank
looking at that.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really fun. And my sister's in college.
Okay. Okay. So there's a big age difference then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. I have a sister that's 2 years older than me, a sister that's 9 years younger than me, and a brother that's 11 years younger than me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah. So my stepsister is 15 years younger than me, and there is an age difference, and it's really fun. She keeps me young, which I am super grateful for.
Yeah. Well, you're not that old anyway.
No, I'm really not, but she definitely helps keep me younger than I feel than I could feel.
So, what is it that you think is the best thing that comes from you and your mom working together with this coaching?
Definitely the both and that we bring, that we're so dynamic. We share a lot of overlap in our philosophies and our belief structure. And so that creates a unity that we bring to our clients. But our approach and the personality we put behind it is so complementary that our clients really get to have two different experiences, real consistently, that they'll get a little of me and a little of her and a lot of me and a lot of her. And that it just creates an experience that's so unique. They
Hmm.
wouldn't get if there wasn't the two of us.
Yeah. So when you're working with people, is it like a group setting and then you're both there interacting with them?
All sorts of ways.
Okay.
Sometimes we're both there, sometimes it's one of us, sometimes one of us is owning one thing, sometimes we're interchanging. Our clients never know, like they don't know one of us shows up or both of us show. One of us is always showing up, but they kind of just get who they get, and it works out really nice that it's always whoever is meant to deliver whatever the quote unquote medicine is the day. That's
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. And because like I have a Facebook group that's called Stand Up and Stand Out.
I love.
And so I help women, primarily women, there are men in the group, but I help them to get rid of some of the limiting beliefs that are holding them back from being their most authentic selves. And whether that means they want to do a TED talk, or they want to talk on a stage of some kind, or if they want to go to a networking event or even just have a conversation, I help them to be able to really feel into, we can all have the gift of gab within us if we just let it out. And most people are holding it back. So I help with that. And I go live in that group every single day with an affirmation and a journal prompt. And so I love doing that. And what tends to happen is that I will do a meditation or something before I get on the live, or I've been listening to something on YouTube or reading a book. And suddenly I'll get this light bulb moment, of this is the affirmation for the day. This is the journal prompt for the day. And then I'll scribble it down, then I'll stick it in my notes, and then I'll share it. And 9 times out of 10, every time I do that, there's somebody on there that says, "Oh, that's exactly what I needed to hear." And so I love that we can just draw from God and the universe and just have these things drop in because the person in front of us, that's what they need to hear. And because, in the beginning, I would create like, we try to save time. So I would create like 30 affirmations and journal prompts really quickly, right? And then I
Wow.
started finding that sometimes it felt like in the morning when I would go to pull one out, I think that just don't feel like what I'm supposed to talk about today. So I'd create a new one, and that would be the one that hit. And so that's when I started realizing, just wait till the day of, the morning of, right before you get on, it'll all come to you, and just have faith. And so that's the way I do it. So I love that. And knowing that when you're doing your coaching with you and your mom, your whoever is supposed to be delivering that message to everybody that day is the exact one that shows up. And it gives you an ebb and flow to everything that is totally different from that pressing, I got to do it this way.
Absolutely. I so agree about that. And I think it's a real gift for our clients too, that not only do they get these different energies, but it's a great practice in letting go of control. Like we never tell them who's going to be on. It's just, someone or both of us show up. We're in whatever container we're in. And it's an opportunity for them to just have space of trust. They don't have to control who's going to be delivering this today, who's my coach today, but they can show up and then have the powerful experience that they're meant to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Recently I did a workshop, and one of the things that I had met a woman on my podcast. As a matter of fact, she was a guest on my podcast. And when we were talking and I was getting to learn a little bit about her, I realized that she was an improv instructor. And it
Oh,
was
so
like, oh, that sounds really cool. So we ended up joining partners for a little bit, and we did like some master classes and a program together, because it was like it felt like the perfect marriage of, mine is a mindset and it can get really serious and deep, right? And hers was improv, and so she put the play into it and made it a game, and it just meshed together perfectly. And so it sounds like that's kind of what you do, you and your mom, because you're both coming from it from a different spot, and it allows you to be able to address a plethora of things that just alone you wouldn't be able to.
absolutely. Yeah, it really, and it never fails that we just have a beautiful harmony and a real, yin and yang, a real flow, which is so cool.
Yeah, yeah. So this is making me wanting to reach back out to Laura and say, okay, let's do something else again.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think that partnerships are so powerful. So absolutely reach back out
Yeah,
to.
yeah, I do too. So do you guys have a podcast?
We do. Same name. So our Facebook group, book, and podcast, all the same name, Live Your Yes Life.
Okay. All right. Very
Yeah,
cool.
we do
Very
a lot
cool.
of solo shows and then occasionally an interview. And we don't do too many of those together. So we'll kind of just, and we're kind of the same way. Like what's relevant, what's popping right now, we'll just come on and create an episode about that.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Very cool. So where can they find your podcast?
All the places podcasts are. Yep.
Okay.
So YouTube, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you're listening, it's there.
Okay. Beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
so it looks like we're getting close to time. So just go ahead, if you don't mind. Is there one thing that maybe you wanted to share with our listeners, our viewers, that maybe I haven't thought to ask? Is there anything coming up for you that you just really want to share?
Thank you for asking that. I will add on a little bit. I mentioned earlier that our Facebook group is a place where we help people say yes now, no matter their circumstances. And I just want to speak into the power of that. And the reason for that is because even if your circumstances change, one thing that won't change is that we'll always have circumstances. There
Right.
always will be something in life that needs our attention or is changing or isn't changing, or there's weather or there's temperature or there's whatever there is, or someplace where our money needs to be, etc. And so there's so much power in being able to create while life is lifing, while your circumstances are there, because then you never are waiting for the circumstances to change, but you're actually in the driver's seat to change them if they need to, or just let them be what they are because you're still living the powerful life you want to live. So it's a real gift to be able to give yourself the opportunity to learn how to create that.
Yeah, I like that. Because I know one of the things that I tell people all the time is that if you can't be happy where you are, you're not going to be happy where you're going.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like to say, like, you can't hate your way to wherever. Like, you
Yeah,
can't hate your
right.
way to riches, you can't hate your way to fitness. You can't,
Yeah.
you got to love yourself is the only way to get there.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things that has been mind-blowing to me as I've been going through this journey is that when you ask somebody, well, what is it that you really want? They'll tell you a litany of things they don't.
So
And
true.
they don't even realize that they're spending all this time just talking about all the things that they don't want and not answering the question of what they do want. And I think that is a very powerful thing to switch in people. If you
Yeah.
can start looking at what it is you really want and using the what you don't want as a powerful tool to figure out what you do want, but not talking about the what you don't want all the time. It's focusing on the beautiful life. And even if your life is not exactly what you wanted at the moment, then it is figuring out how to make peace with where you are and find things, like you said, about this life that can light you up so that you can start making a move toward having the better life that you're looking for. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah. So this has been so powerful to talk to you, and I really feel like we haven't dove into some really deep stuff. So let's just think for a second. I know you said, I'm not ready to end for some reason. So, you said you were six figures in debt,
Yeah.
right? So was that from college education? Where did the six figures come from?
Yeah. So I had a stroke when I was 19.
Okay.
Um, and
See,
so
you didn't even tell us that. What's this about?
yeah. And so the six figures of debt was mostly student loans and medical bills that had just piled up. And so here I am in my early 20s. For years, I didn't even know. Like one day, I finally told it up and was like, my jaw dropped that, like, oh my, I knew it was a lot, but I didn't know how much it was. And then to see a number up north of 100,000 just felt impossible. And when that first happened, I felt totally defeated. And I just resigned that I'll just be someone that pays debt for the rest of their life. I was really living paycheck to paycheck. I had like maybe a spare $50 for fun like every month after expenses. So I just thought, well, this isn't ever going to change. I'm just never going to be somebody that has a different experience of wealth or money. And it through the journey of this, it was so fun to see that in 1 year I could go from being someone that was six figures in debt to someone that was a six-figure earner, and to
Mm,
just really see that difference. And then I did go off to pay off 70,000 of that in a 12-month span. And so that was also so powerful to really see that our stories are never permanent.
right.
We can change them however we want. And yeah, it was a really powerful thing to just change my story.
Yeah. So what led to your stroke? Do you know?
Inconclusive. Many things the doctors kind of said. So what the doctors would tell you is that there was a lot of things happening at once, that there was a perfect storm, they all came together. And what I know to be true, from now that I'm here at this stage of my life and have done so much, is my higher self was giving me a choice moment and was saying, okay, if you really want out, if this isn't what you want, if you're really unhappy, you can choose out. And if you want it to go different, if you want a new possibility, we can choose that too. And so I know that my spirit self had that moment. And also stress. I was 19 and operating with immense amounts of stress. And I believe that the stress was just the trigger that turned it on that day.
Yeah. Yeah. So what were your symptoms? Did you know you were having a stroke or did you go to the hospital
I
for?
did not. So I woke up at 7 a.m. already experiencing numbness and weakness in my arm. And I didn't know what a stroke was. I didn't know what any of the symptoms were. And then so I'm showering. I was going to work at the salon that morning. I worked at the front desk. I'm 19. And as I was blow drying my hair, the hairbrush fell out of my hand. And I just thought, like, ah, such a klutz, pick it back up. And at breakfast, I mentioned to my family, like, my arm just feels like I slept on it funny, how just that pins and needle feeling, and I just won't shake it. And I was standing in the front lobby at the salon, and I thought that I face planted. I thought that I just fell, right? It felt like I hit concrete, like I blacked out. And then I came to and realized I was still standing. So I was like, well, this is
Oh,
really,
wow.
something's going on, because I think I just it felt like I face planted, and now I'm still standing. And then I couldn't really use my leg. I kind of had to lean in the wall and drag myself. And so I got to the hospital at noon, and it took 7 hours for the medical team to uncover that I had a stroke. So a lot of things did not go as planned. Really, if you're having a stroke, classic symptoms: face drooping, slurred speech, numbness or weakness on one side of the body. I had the one-sided numbness and weakness, but we missed it's a critical time window, and we missed that window a lot. But I'm grateful to have had a full recovery.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
that's pretty traumatic to go through at that age, at any age, really.
Yeah.
And to do so well with recovery and all the things that you're doing, I'm quite impressed.
Thank you. Yeah,
So I'm
it
glad
definitely.
we stayed on for a few more minutes
I'm
so I could
glad
ask you
too.
some questions.
Yeah, it definitely jump started the transformation. I can see that my whole transformation journey went in stages. That first, it was the physical health. I was like, all right, I got to learn how to get my physical body healthy. And then it was the mental health, the mindset work. How do I think different thoughts? And then eventually it was a spiritual component of who am I really? How do I relate to myself? What's my purpose here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. One of the things I tell people all the time is that, we get indicators in life all the time that we need to pivot, we need to change. And if we don't listen, the voice gets louder and it gets louder and it gets louder. And finally it becomes a baseball bat. And that's what you had, a baseball bat that said, okay, baby, you want change? Here it comes.
Totally. Yeah. You're like, and I mean, think about if to be 19 and need that, I was on a crash course for disaster, right? Like I think my spirit guides were like, we have got to rein her in quick. Like she is going off the rails. Gotta
Put her on
interrupt.
her feet, baby. Well, I'm so grateful that you had, even though they didn't miss that window, they must have done some amazing, amazing things to have helped you to survive that at the level that you did. And maybe being so young was one of the things that helped you too. I don't know. But, and maybe it's just that you were here for a better purpose, a bigger purpose. And so
All the
you
time.
stayed, right? Right. And I really, one of the things that I love is when I can talk to someone and not only do they have a business that they love and they're nurturing people and everything, but they have such a soul and such a spiritual side to it. It's not just, give me your money and I'll tell you what to do kind of thing. It's, it's inside, and I can feel that from you. And I feel like I do that. I don't know that it always comes across for other people, but I feel like I am always wanting to make sure that everybody around me is affected in a good way. And one of the things that I'll share really quick from me, that my greatest fear has always been that I would die with my music still in me, that I wouldn't have made the ripple effects, I wouldn't have made the change, and I wouldn't have followed, my passion and stuff. And so when I first became the health coach, it didn't have anything to do with any of that. It was just I didn't want to be fat anymore. But then on that journey of learning and growing and changing my mindset and who I was, that's when I became this person that it was like, I've got a purpose. I've got this ripple that I want to create out into the world. And so I'm grateful to be here with you and helping to make that ripple for myself and for you and for all the people who are watching and listening. And I just want to tell everybody that when this is published in the description, I will have all the links to everything that Kaela has available to you, so that you can look and just click right on and go and look at all of her stuff. And I'll have things there that I'm involved with and as well, because I would love for you to, everybody that's watching or listening, to take advantage of some of the stuff that each of us have, and to make your life this life that you want to live and not that you want to get away from.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vickie. I know that you are in fact touching and just being a blessing to every person that you come in contact with. And you're such an artist. So thank you for letting me just share in your energy.
Well, thank you so much. So I am going to leave everybody with one of my favorite quotes. And it's, the best way to predict the future is create it. And doesn't that go along with everything that we've just been talking about?
I love that.
All right, so I will see you next time. And everyone, make sure you remember to like, subscribe, and share. Mwah.